All right. We are here live for the gluten-free challenge. We, me, we may not be all together. I'm in Yelapa, Mexico, just wrapped up our spiritual medicine retreat for 2023. So they're going to hear some waves, maybe a little bit of wind. We're just going to work with what we have today and allow this time together to be still a success. So you can enjoy the view. And I promise we're not just chatting today about being gluten-free. This was just like a gluten-free challenge was a way to get everyone involved and engaged to see that food is frequency and that there is so much more going on in our body that we might sometimes not even realize. There's energy alchemizing. Our body is like a thermometer. We don't want to be, or sorry, we want to be like the thermostat and not like the thermometer. We are always feeling and shifting and moving energy and encountering energy, whether it's like people we're meeting on the street that light us up, people we're meeting in masterminds or challenges, people we're with at retreats. Our body feels, okay, this person gives me life. Our body also feels that with food. And going gluten-free is just one way to get started and to noticing that your body is energetic, that you are an energy being, and that it's a constant process of transmutation, alchemy, and feeling into your body, receiving energy, giving energy at all times. So I'm curious, in the chat, I have your questions prepared that you have sent in, and we will go over all of that together. But I'm curious how you are feeling as I untangle my hair's never wavy like this, but when it gets in the ocean, it gets wavy and pretty tangly. So as I untangle my hair, drop in the chat how you are feeling on a 1 to 10. And honestly, I don't expect that a gluten-free challenge would leave you at a 10. I think maybe if you started at a 3, a 4, a 5, you might be at a 6, a 7, an 8, somewhere around there. If you took a little bit from the challenge and you're a few points ahead, and that's completely normal. I'm also curious, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 to 7, depending on if you signed up the very first day, you're at 10 days. How many days have you made changes, whether that be gluten and dairy, and how long did you keep that applied? That will also play into your score. And for those who have already been gluten-free, and I hold my promise true to this challenge, like it's so much more than being gluten-free. So if you're like, Jen, I've already done your symptomless program, I got you. You probably started something back or took this challenge and made it into a little bit of a cleanse. And we're going to talk about what's next for you. So good to hear that everyone's doing a little bit better. And I want to make it really expected and normal that you might not feel totally different because there's more. And this is a way, this gluten-free challenge, to get you engaged and seeing that every time we take a bite of food, our body is receiving frequency, right? Just like every time we sit with someone we love and have a heartwarming interaction with them, our body is receiving frequency. Let me clean off my screen for a second. Maybe that'll make it a little bit better. Okay. There's all sorts of bugs flying around. We're just here. And so you take in food and your body says, okay, I have to either rise up and match that frequency, what your vessel is going to do. Your body says, oh, that was heavy. I'm feeling tired. I have other chronic illnesses, viruses, parasites, bacteria, heavy metals. I can't alchemize. I can't transmute that frequency you just put in me. And I'm going to sink and I'm going to feel heavy and I'm going to feel low. And that's also expected, right? So what's next for you? So let's start. I'm just going to start on this linear path. It's never linear. You're going to go 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 5 steps forward, 6 steps back in your healing. And just know that for every few steps you take forward, every time you have an expansion, there is normally a refractory period of contraction. And it's like birth, right? So you're crowning, here comes the head, and then it's back in, out and back in, out and back in, right? So give yourself grace and know that as you're going through this healing process, things can change. Okay. So what is next for you? And I'm going to lay out these steps super simple, and then I will give you the resources to do so. So if you have been gluten-free and you've done the challenge, you're like, what? Maybe you feel completely amazing, and that will be some people's experience. Going gluten-free will be everything they needed and more. And then maybe you're like, kind of saw a difference, not too much. Add in dairy-free. You're there. Okay, what's next for you? I want to invite you to my symptomless program, my symptomless course, which more information will be provided at the end. But if you go to inspirehealthbyjen.com, you click on courses, you can purchase the symptomless course, and I'm going to send out a discount code with this replay. The course is normally $500, and we're going to give it to you for $333. Everything good comes in threes. Everything divine comes in threes, I feel like. So you can have that course that is going to take you through where to go from here, especially if you have chronic symptoms and you're not sure how food as medicine could be a game changer for you. Because I promise you, anything autoimmune, as we talked about in the first slide, anything chronic inflammatory can be healed with food. And that course will take you through the steps to personalize and individualize that I won't have time to do today. So the course, or if you're looking for that deeper one-on-one work together, we can have that together as well. And that's the symptomless program. And that's included, the course is included with the program. But just know if you're looking for like a little bit lower barrier, you're a self-starter, you've made it this far through the challenge, the course, especially at $333, is a great opportunity. Okay, so say you've graduated from the symptomless program. I recommend checking out or buying Anthony Williams' book, Liver Rescue. It is wonderful. Liver Rescue will give you the 3 steps, the 6 steps, the 9 steps, the 9 days total of a cleanse. So you've been through my symptomless program. You're looking to take it a little bit further, right? You're like, okay, Jen, I've healed most of my ailments. Maybe you're completely in remission from chronic symptoms. You're healing your body. And now it's time to go further. That is something that I enjoy doing, being in remission from chronic symptoms. So 369, it's hard. It's going to put you in places that you necessarily physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually don't want to put yourself, but the cleanse, the container, the content, and the community will take you there. And I encourage it. Now, if you're like, and this was a great question that came in, well, what about my cycle? What about during my cycle? Which parts of my cycle, you know, the follicular phase, the ovulation phase, the luteal phase? What if you're perimenopausal? What if you are menopausal? What does this have to do with timing of cleanses? And as a woman, we have, even if you're in a menopause or past, you run off of a monthly calendar, a monthly cycle. Men have a 24-hour clock. As women, we have a lunar or a monthly clock. So women who are still having their cycle, it really does matter for best results when you do a cleanse. For women who are past having their cycle, or maybe anatomically, you know, you've had surgical menopause, some parts of your body have been taken out, you are still cycling. Menopausal women and surgical menopausal women, you are still cycling. You're cycling with the moon, and we're coming up right now on a new moon, and there's a time, the new moon is typically not a time that you would want to cleanse. So we're ending the cleanse now. We started right around the full moon, or think of this as like ovulation, this time where follicular and ovulation, your body wants light, it wants raw, it wants to be seen, it wants to be visible. You have more natural energy. At this other part of our moon, our inner moon is our cycle, and our outer moon is what the cosmos are doing. At this point in our cycle, we start to be like, I want warm food, I want chocolate, I want magnesium, right? So at this part in our cycle, it is completely fine to admit a couple more people. At this part in our cycle, you're going to notice that you want less of cleansing foods, and that's totally okay. So if you were to the point in the cleanse that you've already done the 369 and you want to take it further, I recommend the I Am Woman program. And that is launching in February. So just notice with every step you're taking on your healing journey, there's always more. And whether you've started with a challenge and you want to step into the symptomless course, and for those who are just coming on, more details will be sent out in the follow-up email. And for those who you've finished with the symptomless course, you've healed your body of chronic ailments and conditions, and you can step into the 369 Cleanse, Anthony Williams' Liver Rescue book will take you all through that. And then if you're wanting to take it deeper and understanding your body and your hormones and when is the best time for your body to be in this experience, be in a cleanse, the I Am Woman program is for you. But okay, I want to come all the way back and talk about the frequency of food and how important it is to understand what you're doing every time you take a bite of food. And you can tell me throughout the cleanse what you've been feeling along the way. So think about food as more, every time you're taking a bite, I want you to think what energetically is going on in the body. So if you have a like wrapped up gluten-free spaghetti on your fork and it's about to go into your mouth, I want you to lean into it. And our bodies are energy. Our bodies are thermometers, and we want to become proficient in being the thermostat. There's some loud music coming from a boat, so we're going to roll with it. So when you have this gluten-free spaghetti wrapped up on your fork and you're looking at it, and if you just bring it to your body and hold it to your body, you can do this as a muscle test with food. Notice if your body leans towards it, or if your body, it's going to be apart from the mind that you sense this, or your body starts to lean away. That's one muscle test that you could do, right? Something else that you can do is understanding your food is what's going to bring me up and what's going to lift me down. So I want to talk about gluten and why we're on this gluten-free challenge. And let me play with the video here for a second, because I feel like maybe you guys can't see me now. 1 second. Okay, let me know in the chat if you can see me. Okay. Zoom's doing some wonky things and we're gonna roll with it. Okay. Awesome. Perfect. Thank you for letting me know. So the reason we started with gluten and the whole reason, surprise, that I wanted you to get into this challenge is not just to look at your life and your body and your eating from a gluten-free perspective. That's great. I encourage you to stay as gluten-free as you can, but let's break down frequency-wise what gluten is doing in the body. Gluten, if you think about the way gluten was made, because for a long time, a long time ago, we were eating wheat, humans were, and we weren't sick, right? And then the Industrial Revolution came around and just modern era of society taking a turn towards a more patriarchal approach, and we want more, and we want fast, and we want more, fast, right? So instead of growing our own food, we shifted into a place where food can be mass produced, which has saved our lives. But as humans, most of us, especially if you're on this call and you have internet and you have the luxury to consider gluten in your body because you have other foods available, we're not in survival mode. So gluten, and this applies to corn as well, has been genetically modified to the point to where our body doesn't recognize it. So think about if someone's singing to you and she's singing this beautiful, you're at a yoga class and the teacher is playing the sound bowls. We do this at the retreat, so I'm like literally just thinking about the yoga deck above us. She's playing the sound bowls and then she starts singing this beautiful harmony with her voice. And that feels resonant in your body. That's like, let's say, green juice or apples or sweet potatoes or honey. That's that food in your body. Now, let's say someone starts screeching, screaming, singing in a really off-key, off-tune way. That's called dissonance. And when it comes to food, your body has resonance and your body has dissonance. And the most sensitive bodies, and I promise you, if you're in this community and you enjoy learning from me and this kind of material is resonating with you, your body is very highly sensitive. And your body's always, every human body, whether they recognize it or not, is responding to energy and to frequency. Okay, so we eat a food and we put it in our mouth and it gets into our body, and think of it like a tuning fork. And so with gluten, because we have genetically modified the living crap out of wheat and out of barley and out of these different grains, our body is like, hold on a minute. Is someone screeching? Because someone used to be singing me a lovely lullaby. And now it sounds like someone is a pterodactyl screaming in my ear. That's what happens when we eat gluten. Now, for some people, For celiacs, it's like their deepest, darkest nightmare is to hear someone singing off key or that pterodactyl in their ear. For other people, it's more of a load that builds up over time of energy. So they can handle one person screaming. But imagine now they're eating dairy, which has been genetically modified to the point we don't recognize it. And I'll talk about that here in a second, because there's a lot of trends out right now about like how raw dairy is better, and we'll get into all that. But so just for the point of frequency, what the body responds to an energetic vibration. So we eat gluten and we have one person screeching, and then we have dairy in the body, and then you added another person screeching, and then you have GMO corn, and then you have processed food and sugar, and then you add in, if you have chronic illness, GMO soy, then you add in eggs, and then whatever the sensitivities are for the person, it can get a little individual. The symptomless course will break all of this down for you, and we will work on it in the I Am Woman as well. But all of these frequencies are starting to build up in the body. And imagine you're in a yoga class and you now have 4 or 5 or 6 people screeching and screaming in final Savasana, and your body can't relax. That's what happens with our food. So some people can just take a little bit, right? Some people can just, that you notice that, maybe you notice this is you, like you can eat gluten and be fine, but oh my gosh, you took out dairy and you started to feel a lot better. Well, it was because that one person in that screeching final Savasana in yoga, their voice just really pissed you off for some reason. They just got under your skin. Maybe it was your sister. Maybe it was your brother, your mother, whoever, someone that really annoys you. That's your body with certain foods. It's all about frequency, and your body's going to jive with some frequencies and it's not going to jive with other frequencies. Across the board, gluten and dairy, because of the way they have been mass produced, don't jive with most human bodies, especially in large amounts, and especially in large amounts over time. And when I say large amounts, I mean once a day, right? Once in a blue moon, if you consume this, you're out of town, you're like, oh, I didn't know. Okay, your body can probably shake it off, roll it off. But food is a frequency, and we want your body to be the thermostat and not the thermometer. So we want your body to decide, what frequency am I going to be today? And what I mean by that is, instead of, there's some banana bread down at the juice bar here that is delicious, but I don't eat it because I know gluten affects my frequency. I had a mango smoothie and it was wonderful, right? Because I'm like, every day in my life, since healing my chronic illness, I want to be the thermostat. I want to be the one calculating the gauges and saying, this is how I'm going to feel today. And you can do that with food. But in the beginning, and because of the way our medical system is set up, we feel powerless over our conditions and our symptoms, and we don't realize we can be the thermostat, and we become the thermometer. Our body is just responding always to energy, to what we put in it. And then we think those are symptoms that we have to live with the rest of our life. So every time you take a bite of food, your body is calibrating, your body is responding to energy. And with autoimmune disease, if you have, I'm going to paint this terrible yoga class in Savasana. You now have the yoga teacher screaming in a pterodactyl voice, and then you have your mother and your brother in there talking loud and screaming, you're trying to relax. And then you have someone playing tuning forks that are completely off tune. And then they start playing Led Zeppelin or screamo music, and your body just feels like, oh my gosh, imagine the teacher's like, now everyone relax, close your eyes, and you're like, I can't, there's all of this dissonance going on all around me. That's how your body feels with inflammatory foods that build up over time. And those with chronic illness or chronic symptoms, everyone actually has a chronic symptom. If you think of one thing in your body that you struggle with that you don't necessarily love, can be improved, if not completely resolved, through food as medicine, because food is a frequency. You're putting frequency in your body's going to express. Type a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. Okay. So I think these are most of the questions, the questions that were sent in, and we covered it about the I Am Woman program. And in short, of what time of my cycle, and if you're menopausal or perimenopausal, you're still cycling as a woman, because you cycle with the moon. Men have a 24-hour clock. As women, we run on a monthly cycle. And typically the beginning of your cycle is a good time to cleanse. But using what foods and what temperatures and in what order, we can talk about that in the I Am Woman course, because your body is not meant to just be predictable. It is amazing when you learn as a woman about what it means to be at this part in your cycle. When's the best time you're going to give a public speech? When is the best time that you're, going to be able to lose weight in your cycle? When is the time to be realistic that you're going to want chocolate and you're going to want to do it? So when I'm here in Yelapa leading retreats, I typically like to juice cleanse and do fruits in a raw, mostly vegan unless there's fresh fish, diet. And I looked back, and this time that I'm here, it's been really hard for me. I've been having some chocolate and I've been wanting the hot soups at night, and everything's vegetarian here, vegan, other than the fish that they might bring once or twice during the retreat. And it's because my body, because the uterus needs warmth, right? This channel, this meridian to activate its cycle. And I'm like, I can't do it this time. I can't cleanse in the way that I want to. And it's where I'm at in my cycle, and it's where the moon is at, and where this what's going on in the cosmos, this energy field is happening right now around this new moon. We want to feel nestled in, secure, safe. But depending on where you're at, if you're a menstruating woman, that's going to be different because your inner moon is stronger than what's going on in the energy field around us. Okay. So we talked about being the thermostat, not the thermometer. We talked about what food is doing in the body. And we're also talking about how to assist you further after this program. So the gluten-free challenge is going to kick you right off. The symptomless course, there's going to be a coupon code sent out that's going to give you a discount if you want to purchase just the course, or the course is included in the symptomless program, as well as the I Am Woman program. You'll have access to the symptomless course, and more details will be released starting in February, and that I Am Woman program starts March 6th. So you can continue on with your cleansing and be prepared to dive into learning about your hormones, learning about how as women, there's a really amazing book I can't recommend enough called Patriarchy Stress Disorder. And it teaches us how our nervous systems, our bodies, how we're in this hormonal collapse as women because of the way the world has been set up. But we can live in the world and not be like the world. And I'm sure you've noticed that with your challenge of like, oh crap, like the world does not make it easy for me to live gluten-free. The world does not make it easy for me to cleanse. And so you can can travel, you can eat out. It's a matter of learning. It's just like if I brought you from the United States as only an English speaker and you're living in rural Mexico where there's only Spanish speakers, it's a little bit of a culture shock, but you're going to learn this new language and you're going to learn as you go. Okay. Oh, I'm going to a wedding. They're going to have cake. I'm definitely going to want some of that cake. Maybe I'll pack some Lara bars or date bars in my purse for when I want something sweet, if the cake's not gluten-free. Or I'm traveling, I'm going on a trip. How can I set myself up in a way? And I work with people who are really, really sick, who like can barely get out of bed. They can barely prepare food for themselves because they're weak, they're sick, they're ill. And there is a way. This does not have to be hard. And if you feel like I'm making this so hard, I'm feeling restricted, I'm feeling like I'm punishing myself, then there's a different way to look at it. And that is that a lot of us, and I know I work mostly with women, so I'm going to address mostly women, but men, this affects you too. As women, we are so strong in our masculine energy because of the way that the society sets us up to be. We don't usually get the space to think about, what does my body need right now? What is my body asking for? How is my body feeling? Right? And if I wasn't aware of my cycles when I'm here on this retreat, wanting to cleanse and wanting to be mostly raw and cooling foods, I'd be really hard on myself right now, beating myself up, being like, oh, I wasn't strong enough to stay, with the juices and the fruits and the things I normally like to do. Because when I leave here, I feel so light. But I've been at different parts of my cycle, usually every time I'm here. It makes a big, big difference, right? Let me look over the questions and make sure that I got them all. What does meat do according to our frequency? Okay, so I will tell you this, you can heal your body and eat meat or not eat meat. Personally, I have found that my thermometer I feel more of a thermometer when I don't eat meat, and my temperature setting on my thermostat, right? So I feel more of a thermostat than a thermometer. I have to when I use this analogy, I have to think of the old Mercury thermometers and the thermostat on the wall. I want to be the one on the wall controlling the temperature. I have noticed for my body that I feel more in control of my frequency. I feel higher vibration. I feel lighter. My digestion is better. My moods are better. I just feel happier when I don't eat meat really, and I usually only do seafood. That's my body. But I can tell you, I have clients, females and males, but females have said around my cycle, especially if the cycle is, we haven't yet got hormones in balance and she's losing, quite a bit of nutrients and iron through the cycle. She's like, I crave beef, steak, something hearty, salmon around my cycle. And that's appropriate. So me, it's not, I'm pretty black and white and will say gluten and dairy is really not great for anyone. And you can read the blog on middaypigeon.com about that. And the less you eat, the better. But meat is one of those things that it's unique to the individual. And then I've had mentors and teachers say that, the more in tune you are with your intuitive gifts and whatever that might look like for you, that you might have trouble eating other living frequencies other than plants. I have seen that to be true. And then I've seen that not to be true at all for some of, the most intuitive in touch individuals that I work alongside of. So your body is, if you think about everything as frequency, one, it's going to take you out of that diet culture mindset that just sucks to be in, right? Like who wants to go back to weighing and measuring their food and weighing themselves and counting calories? Like that is not fun. That is saying that our body is a machine that needs to be, or an animal machine to be calibrated, an animal to be controlled, rather than an energetic being, a frequency that is always responding with its environment. Every time you take a bite of food, your body's like, do I want to lift up or do I want to come down? And that is not to say that you have to feel perfect every single day, because I'm going to tell you, especially women who are still experiencing their inner moon, you're going to have parts of your cycle that are naturally built in divine rhythm to prepare you for that inward reflection and alchemizing energy and clearing out what didn't serve you this cycle. As you bleed or as we have a new moon, whichever your rhythm is, pre-menopause or post, that is a time for you to release and reflect and be inward and sit and have warmer foods. And then we get into follicular and ovulation. And this is the time where everything you just released frequency is out of the body, right? So you're starting new, you're starting fresh after your cycle. And that's a great time to start a cleanse. So this content, if you've been in the gluten-free challenge, you can repeat it for 7 days. And maybe you make it a challenge to go until you have 7 days in a row. And then you add dairy. And then you're starting to notice some subtle energetic shifts. And then you start the symptomless course. And then you're like, that was amazing. I want more. And you want to step into the I Am Woman program or the I Am Woman retreat, right? And there's always a next level. And as human beings, we're evolving up this spiral and we're going up and up and up. And we need a container, we need a community, and we need content to evolve. And so I'm glad you signed up. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad the gluten-free challenge excited you, resonated with you. Our souls have all contracted. We made this little negotiation to be here and plan this together. And I promise you, I wouldn't be doing my job if I told you it's just about going gluten-free and clearing out infections. We can talk all about autoimmune or chronic symptoms. You might have chronic Epstein-Barr, you might have moles, you might have parasites. There's so many things that could be going on in your body. And if I can make this a broad guidance for all in this program, I'm going to tell you to understand your body energetically, because different traumas and different pathogens and different things will result in certain conditions. But if you understand your body is energetic, you're not going to be sick anymore. And when you do have symptoms, you're not going to think that your body is the problem or it's always the food, because it's not always the food. Your emotions, your energy, your experiences, those make you sick. Those make you well. And when your body is having a symptom, it's communicating to you its thermometer, saying I'm 105 too hot, or I'm 52 too cold, and I lose 75 and sunny. That's what it is here in Yelapa. That's where our bodies want to be. And you can learn through this challenge, through these programs, through this content, community, and containers that my company offers you. And then I'll work with you on how to be that thermostat and get out of the place of being the thermometer. That's where we have symptoms. That's where we feel like we're living a life that's not authentic to us. That's where we feel like, gosh, I don't even know what it's like to feel good. I've been there. 25 years old, I had 8 different chronic autoimmune conditions and was bedridden sick. And yeah, going gluten-free was a big part of it, but understanding myself as an alchemy and energetic being, that was everything. All right. Well, I'm going to stay here for just another couple minutes if anyone has questions. That feels really complete. And if you sign up for the gluten-free challenge, stay subscribed to the emails, tune into the podcast. Next week, we're going to be announcing the winners, and you still have the opportunity before January 23rd, if you're here in real time, live time, to enter the podcast challenge. So you can leave a review on both Apple, iTunes, and Spotify. You can tag 3 friends in the social media post, and then you can win a juicer, a session with me, the course. So if you want to wait and see if you win before you get the course, that is totally acceptable, totally appropriate. Thank you for your energy, Jen. I'm on my way to a gluten and dairy-free year. That is amazing. And from that, your energy will shift, your vibration will shift, your life will begin to shift. The food is just a tool. It's just a vehicle. It's just a vessel. So thank you for joining me for this challenge. Tune into your inbox, check that out, stay connected with me on social, and there's lots more to come.